Wheat. You need it. I need it. This guy needs it. Those idiots definitely need it. Let's face it, everybody needs wheat. So, what do we do about it? For those that said,
just go plant some?
Wrong. The correct answer, of course, is to employ a farmer and have them grow it for us. Pfft, expecting us to do work? Why even play this mod if you're going to do that? In this tutorial, we'll be slightly less aggressive about things and cover the basics of this worker, explaining everything that you'll ever need to know about the MineColonies Farmer and Fields. The farmer and their fields are the backbone of your colony's food production. They are responsible for growing crops and supplying them to your colony. They can cultivate all forms of vanilla Minecraft crops, such as wheat, carrots, potatoes, beets, melons, and pumpkins. They can also grow other modded crops as well, so long as they are coded with normal growth behaviours. The farmers are also capable of crafting different types of seeds for use, alongside carving pumpkins, creating hay bales, and different dirt blocks. But mainly, you'll be using these idiots for growing wheat, because trust me, the colony requires tons of the stuff, and you will forever spend your time trying to fulfill their wheaty needs. The farmer's hut can be crafted by using a wooden hoe alongside 7 planks of any type and a build tool. Using a stone hoe instead of a wooden one will generate 2 farmer huts rather than 1. These recipes can be taught to the sawmill should you wish to automate the creation of farmer huts. If you hold the farmer's hut within your action bar, then right click into the air with it, a list will be generated of all of the possible building styles that the hut can have. This list will also show you the dimensions of the different styles and how many upgradable levels that they have. You will also see where the building is located within the Build Tools menu. To set the farm for construction, you can either do it manually by using the hut block itself or by using the build tool, which is much more recommended. To place manually, hold the hut block within your action bar, then right click on a block in front of you. A message will appear recommending that you use the build tool to place it instead, but if you select the place anyway option, the farm will be placed down on the block you clicked on. To place the farm using the build tool, make sure that you have the farmer's hut within your inventory, then right click on a block in front of you with the build tool. This will bring up the build tool menu, and it's a straightforward case of navigating to where the farmer's hut can be found. In most of the pack styles, the farm is usually located within the agricultural menu within the horticulture category. Once the farm has been selected, position it how you wish using the build tool, then select the green check mark to place it down. To set the building for construction, right click on the placed hut block to open its interface, then from the build options, select Build Now to construct it, or select the Pick Up option to pick the hut block up, allowing you to reposition it. Once a builder picks up the construction work order for the farm, they will request all of the building materials for it, which you or the colony will need to supply them with. Once constructed, a farmer will be assigned to the hut if it has been set to automatic hiring, otherwise you will need to manually assign one. The farmer will require a field to be constructed in order for them to grow their crops in. You have 2 options available to you when it comes to placing down fields. You can either use a building pack style of field to use, or you can create your own field. In either case, you will require a field block to set up the field, which looks like a scarecrow. The field block can be crafted by using a pumpkin or hay bale as a head, alongside a piece of leather and 3 sticks for the body. This recipe can be taught to the farmer, fletcher and mechanic if you wish to automate the creation of field blocks. If you right click the field block into the air, a list will generate of all of the possible building styles that it can have. The list will also contain information about the dimensions of the different field styles, any upgradable levels to them, and where they are located within the Build Tools menu for a given pack style. To use a building pack style of field, simply locate it within the Build Tools menu, position the build as to how you wish, then press the green check mark followed by the Build Building option to set it for construction. Unlike the Farmer's Hut block, the field block will not be placed down once it has been set for construction, so you won't need the field block within your inventory. Once the field has been set for construction, construction tape will appear around the area where the field will be built. If you wish to cancel the construction work order for the field, you can do so by going to the builder who has picked up the work order for it. Then, inside our Builder's Hut interface, select the Work Orders tab and cancel the build from there. Alternatively, you can go to the Town Hall's interface, then the Work Orders tab within it, and press the red cross to cancel the build from there. Once a builder picks up the work order for the field, they will request all of the building materials for it, including the field block, which you or the colony will need to supply them with. To create your own field, hold the field block within your action bar, then right-click on the ground in front of you where you want the field to be placed. The scarecrow will be placed down, and the area around it will essentially be turned into potential farmland for your farmer, with the scarecrow being the centre of the field. The scarecrow in the middle of the field may come with either an orange pumpkin for a head or a yellow hay bale. These heads are random but purely decorative and can be changed by removing, then placing down the scarecrow again. You can feel free to be as creative with your field designs as you wish. Just remember that the fields will adhere to normal Minecraft farmland rules and will require a water source to keep the farmland hydrated. And also that fields do have a set size that they can be, which we'll discuss in a moment. Once you have a field set up for your farmer, if you right-click the scarecrow within it, the field's user interface will open up. This interface will allow you to specify the crop which you want the farmer to cultivate, as well as set the size of the field that the farmer will use. To select a crop for your farmer to grow, click on the Pick Seed option, then select a crop within the list. By default, a farmer will automatically be assigned to the field once the crop has been selected. The scarecrow and arrow icons within the field's UI dictates the size of the field that the farmer will use. By default, fields are set to a maximum size of 5 tiles in each direction from the centre scarecrow, allowing for a total field size of 120 blocks. You can change the size and shape of the farmland within the field by pressing the arrows in the field's UI and selecting as low as 1 tile or as high as 5 tiles away from the centre scarecrow. The farmer will hoe the land into farmland based upon what numbers you have set within the arrows of the field's UI. A common mistake most players make, myself included, is not knowing the direction of the arrows from the scarecrow. It can be a bit misleading to think that the arrows are pointing in the direction that the scarecrow is facing within the field's UI. So, for example, with the setup we have here, you may assume that the farmer will hoe 1 tile away from the back of the scarecrow, then 2 to the right of it, and 3 from the front of it, etc. But in actuality, the directions are based on the cardinal directions from where you are currently standing, not based on which way the scarecrow is facing. If you hover your mouse over an arrow, you will get up information about what direction the arrow is facing from the scarecrow. It will show you the cardinal direction of the arrow, as well as a local direction depending on where you are currently stood. If you stand to a different side of the scarecrow and check the arrows, you will see that the cardinal and local directions will change. So just keep this in mind whenever setting up any fields, that the farmland the farmers will use are not based on the way the arrows are facing from the scarecrow, but are based by cardinal directions. Here's a few more quick notes about the field worth knowing before we move on. You can change the crop type of a field whenever you wish, whether the farmer has already started to cultivate a crop within it or not. They will eventually harvest all of the original crop planted and replant with the new crop selected. If you do design your own field for the farmer to use, you can make them any shape you want with any height elevations that you wish. Just remember that all farmland will require water to keep them hydrated, and your farmers must still be able to get access to them. If you construct a field from a building pack style, just ensure that the arrows within its UI are set to the size of the field constructed. By default, most fields are set to 5 tiles in each direction from the centre, but the farmland around it may not necessarily have that shape. So just make sure that your fields are set correctly, even with the pre-made fields from other pack styles. By default, your farmers will automatically be assigned a field to use once a crop has been selected within the field. To change this so that you can manually assign them a field, you will need to open up their Farmer's Hut interface, then navigate to the Fields tab. By pressing the grey button at the top of the tab, you will toggle if the farmers are automatically assigned or if they are manually assigned a field. If set to manual, the bottom field section of the tab will be unlocked. This will show you information about already set up fields, with their distance away from the farmer, and what crop they are currently growing within it. The grey button to the side of the field dictates if the field is assigned a farmer to it or not. Albeit a bit counterintuitively, a red cross beside a field means that the field has been assigned to the farmer, and a green check mark means that the field has no farmer assigned to it. So if there is an available field with a crop selected within it, and the farmer is set to be automatically assigned, then the Fields button will be hard greyed out with a red cross in it, which symbolises that the farmer has been assigned to the field. Set the tab to manual, then toggle the red cross button to the green check mark to unassign the farmer from that particular field. Your farmers, by default, will request fertilizer for use on their crops. You can toggle if you wish them to use fertilizer or not by navigating to the Settings tab of their Farmer's Hut interface, then switching the option beside Request Fertilizer. Your farmers do not need fertilizer in order to work, but would prefer having it. If they do ask for fertilizer, then your colony will supply them with special compost made by the composter build or with bone meal. Fertilizer works just as bone meal does on crops and helps increase the growth timer of the crop. So allow your farmers to request fertilizer if you want fast crop cultivation, but be warned, they will go through the stuff incredibly quickly. The farmer will need a few different types of tool for use in order to cultivate their crops. They will require a hoe for use to till the land into usable farmland. They will require an axe in order to harvest fully grown crops, and sometimes they will also use a hoe for this. They will also require shears as well, if you wish them to make any carved pumpkins. The type of tool they use will depend on the level of their farmer's hut, which you can see a list of all of the different tool types and levels here. You will of course also need to supply the farmer with all of the crops and seeds that they require in order for them to actually plant their crops. You can teach the farmer seed recipes so that they can craft their own seeds for specific crops. The farmer uses the stamina skill as their primary trait, where they will level it up as they continue to work. A higher level in this skill means they will take less time between their planting and harvesting cycles. We will talk a bit more about farmer cycles in the next section of the tutorial. They use the athletics skill as their secondary trait and also level this up as they work. A higher level in this skill means they will spend less time planting and harvesting crops. The farmers operate with set cycles. They will start off with a hoeing cycle, where they will hoe all of their field tiles into farmland. Afterwards, they will begin a planting cycle, where they will plant all of the selected crop into the farmland. Finally, they will start a harvesting cycle where they will harvest all of the grown crops in their field. They will then repeat all of these cycles, mainly the planting and harvesting ones, and keep your colony supplied with the crops that they are growing. If the farmer is tending to multiple fields at a time, then these cycles will apply to each one individually. So let's say, for example, that you have 2 fields, and both of them are empty, just awaiting to be planted in. If your farmer was currently in a harvesting cycle, then they wouldn't touch either field, because there is nothing to harvest within them. But if your farmer was in a planting cycle, then they would plant the selected crop within one of the fields before finishing and moving on to the other one. Now let's say that the 2 fields are in different cycles. One of them has fully grown crops within it, just awaiting to be harvested, and the other has empty farmland within it, just awaiting to be planted in. If the farmer was in a harvesting cycle, then they would ignore the empty field in order to go harvest the full field. Or, if the farmer was in a planting cycle, then they would ignore the fully grown field in order to go plant in the empty field. They do not prioritize a certain cycle over another, so won't prioritize harvesting over planting, say. And they will not complete a full cycle of hoeing, planting, then harvesting in a particular field before moving on to another field. Instead, they work in a field depending on the current work cycle that they are in, as well as what phase cycle the field is in. So if you're ever wondering why your idiot is standing around and not harvesting anything for you, it could very well be that they are just in a hoeing or planting cycle at the time. Now, what I find interesting about these cycles is that this is clearly not a very efficient way for the farmers to work, with so much potential downtime of them waiting on their cycles changing. But there is a very simple reason for this inefficiency, and it's to stop the farmers from overflowing the warehouses with crops. Ideally, you would want the farmer to immediately harvest a field once it was ready, replant in it, then move on to the next field, rinse and repeat. But if they did this, then they would generate a lot of crops for the colony, and it would eventually end up clogging the delivery system, especially if they used fertilizer to grow their crops faster. So in order to avoid this, they work in cycles instead, where everything moves slower but becomes more manageable. I do find this an interesting design choice for the farmers, and would say that this is another thing to keep in mind with them, especially when you're ready to stick an axe in them for not working. When the farmer hoes, plants or harvests crops within the field, they will usually start off by the centre scarecrow and spiral their way outwards tile by tile. Depending on a few different factors, however, such as the size of field, distance to the field, the time of day, and the farmer's own skills, you may find that the farmer will sometimes not finish the field entirely before their cycle changes. So the farmer could potentially be in the middle of a hoeing cycle in a field before changing to a planting one and leaving pieces of the field still to be tilled. This is something that you can address by changing the size and location of the field that they use, or by upgrading the farmers themselves. In general, smaller fields means that the farmers have less tiles to work with, so should finish their job faster, and a higher skilled farmer should be able to carry out their jobs faster at any rate before their cycle changes. The farmers also prefer assigning themselves fields closer to their farmer's hut, but if there is an empty field far away for them to use, they will still make attempts to travel to it, which can also affect their cycle changes. The farmer can tend up to a maximum of 5 fields depending on the level of their farmer's hut. At level 1, they can only tend up to 1 field. At level 2, they can tend up to 2 fields, all the way to level 5, where they can tend up to 5 fields. The farmer can also be taught different farming and dirt related recipes. They can be taught how to make field blocks for use, as well as how to make carved pumpkins and hay bales. They can also learn several different dirt recipes, such as coarse dirt, composted dirt, and mud related blocks. And they can also be taught how to turn different crops back into seeds. They only have so many recipe slots available to them, which number is based upon the level of their farmer's hut. At level 1, they can learn up to 10 recipes. At level 2, they can learn up to 20 recipes, all the way to level 5, where they can learn up to 160 recipes. The farmers have a rather handy research that can be unlocked within the university's technology tree called Soft Shoes. This is a level 1 research and unlocks the ability for the farmers to no longer trample crops whenever they jump about in their fields. Upgrading the farmer's hut level also unlocks an important research branch within the university's technology tree, starting with the biodegradable research. This research unlocks a composter's hut for the colony, which can supply the farmer with fertilizer. This branch also unlocks some other important builds for the colony as well, such as the flower shop, the plantation, and the dyer's hut. By upgrading the miner's hut, another research branch will be unlocked, which will allow your farmers to yield more crops when harvesting. The front page of the Farmer's Hut interface will show you the name of the hut and its upgrade level unless you have renamed the build. You will see the farmer assigned to work at the build here as well. Through the Manage Worker option, you can assign and unassign a farmer to the build. You can recall the farmer back to their hut by pressing the Recall Worker option. The build options will show you what is required to upgrade the hut, as well as options to repair or deconstruct it. The Pickup Priority option will determine how much of an effort your couriers will make to come collect items from the hut. A higher priority level means that the couriers will make more of an effort to come collect more frequently. You can also force couriers to collect items immediately by clicking the Request Pickup Now option. The inventory button will show you what type of items are in the building storage, with the chest icon beside it, allowing you to search for a specific item. The Crafting Recipes tab will show you a list of all of the recipes taught to the farmer, with the top of the page showing how many recipe slots are available. The bottom Teach Recipe option will open the farmer's crafting grid for you to teach them recipes. The Tasks tab will show you a list of any current requests that the farmer is currently working on, as well as details as to where the crafted items will be delivered to. The Fields tab will allow you to automatically or manually assign a farmer a field to use. If there is any available fields to use, a list of them and the crops selected within them will be shown within this tab. If the farmer has been set to automatic assignment, the buttons beside the fields will have a hard grey outline around them with either a green check mark or a red cross. A green check mark means that the field is unassigned to any farmer. A red cross means the field is assigned to the selected farmer or another farmer. If the farmer has been set to manual assignment, the buttons beside the fields may have a light grey outline around them, as well as a hard grey outline. The light grey outline means that you can manually assign the farmer that specific field by selecting it. The hard grey outline means that you cannot assign the farmer the field because it may already be assigned to another farmer, or because your selected farmer has too many fields already assigned to them. You can see how many fields a farmer has been assigned to, or can be assigned to, by the number shown at the top of the tab. The Settings tab will allow you to toggle if the farmer requests fertilizer for use or not. If the Warehouse Master research has been unlocked within the university, an additional recipe mode option will be available here as well. This will allow the farmer to craft recipes based upon its priority level within its list of recipes, or if they craft the recipes based upon the stock levels within the warehouse. Most likely you won't need to use this option, so I'll not go into too much detail here. The minimum stock tab allows you to set a stockpile of items that the farmer should always have. Items like fertilizer, tools and seeds are always good items to have stocked within the hut. And that is everything that you'll ever need to know about the farmer and their fields. An important build that, on the face of it, is incredibly simple. Give them seeds, let them plant those seeds, then profit. But on the underside of it, this building can really just be a whole host of cycle complications, backwards facing scarecrows, and field frustrations. Unless you follow this tutorial, of course, then everything's just great. So, what are you waiting on? Get out there and grow some wheat. Thanks for watching.